In Appalachian, the Cherokee removal and Trail of Tears have had major impacts on the region, with impacts on the diversity, placeness, and identity of the Cherokee people. The Trail of Tears is what the Cherokee describes and calls the forced removal of the Cherokee Nation from their ancestral homelands. From 1790 to the early 1820s, the U.S. had regarded natives as foreign entities and kept civil with them, until the 1820s, with politicians like future President Andrew Jackson agreed that they were subjects to the U.S., not foreign powers. The native land and its ownership was a major point of the Removal Act of 1830, as the U.S. wanted the arable land and gold that was found on Cherokee land. The Cherokee had signed many treaties with the U.S. to guarantee their rent rights and tried to attempt to assimilate to life with their neighbors, but that did not help, and on May 23, 1837, the U.S. Army started the forceful removal of the Cherokee Nation.
The legal case, Worcester v. Georgia, was meant to protect the natives and their lands. The court case came about because of a man from Vermont, Worcester, illegally staying on Cherokee land in Georgia. The SCOTUS opinion claimed that Georgia did not have jurisdiction in native land. The president is meant to uphold the Supreme Court's decision even when they said that natives are a distinct, separate entity from the United States. However, this SCOTUS decision was ignored, so it practically did nothing. Prior to 1828, Georgia fully recognized the sovereignty of the Cherokee Nation over the lands that they occupied. But as time ticked towards 1830, Georgia began to shift towards supporting the beliefs of President Andrew knife-in-the-back Jackson. Jackson had a long history of being a public servant to the nation and fought side by side with the Cherokee during the War of 1812. He soon betrayed the natives due to wanting their land to help grow the state's economic strength and population, as well as racism, of course. Many Appalachian states, such as Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama, began to be hostile towards their native inhabitants. They, unlike Jackson, could extend their jurisdiction into native land, forcing a discussion. When they had bullied the natives enough to reach a treaty discussion, states would begin manipulating natives into believing an exodus would be the most beneficial option to their survival, all paving the way to the Indian Removal Act. The Indian Removal Act was presented as a trade of land. The act traded current native land, Achota in Georgia for example, for uninhabited land out west. The act was passed, turning some heads that had minimal power to stop it, and led to the infamous Trail of Tears.
Beginning in May of 1838, Cherokee residents in states such as Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, and North Carolina were forced out of their homes by military officers with no warning and then had to walk along what is now known as the Trail of Tears. Cherokee all across America were affected by this tragedy, even those that lived in communities throughout the Appalachian Mountains. However, many mountaineers do not know the role that Appalachia played in the removal. Southerners are aware that the Trail of Tears occurred, but are unaware of the effort it took to remove the Cherokee from the land. Areas such as Cedartown, Georgia, and Chattanooga, Tennessee were heavily involved with this process. Both of these Appalachian cities were hotspots for large removal camps and areas for immigration process that the Cherokee had to go through. Overall, the removal of the Cherokee was a long and grueling process for all involved. They were stripped from their land, family, and belongings, forced to march thousands of miles to lands that was not theirs, and along the way, suffered far more than anyone can imagine.
The aftermath of Cherokee removal had many short and long-term effects on the Cherokee way of life. One of the immediate effects of removals were surrounding the Cherokee purists. Purists made the decision to live in exile rather than assimilate to the U.S. They became expatriates, or a people without a nation. A monument that can be seen today is the John Ross House. This was once the home of Cherokee Chief John Ross. The house is currently located in Rossville, Georgia. The Trail of Tears singing is one event that is held in western North Carolina to commemorate the lives lost. Another event takes place in Red Clay, Tennessee. This is the meeting of the Joint Council, which is the site of the last council meeting before removal.
The Trail of Tears impacted Appalachia permanently and would change the course of history for the Cherokee people forever. The removal affected the Cherokee people's sense of placeness and identity in the region and altered the diversity of Appalachia. Diversity in the Cherokee people's connection to Appalachia are still present today after the removal, but the population of the Cherokee people has not been restored to pre-removal. The removal had permanent effects for the region and the Cherokee people that would be difficult to reverse. The removal forced the Cherokee people away from their land, traditional grounds, and resources they cultivated, and even families were split up to complete the strenuous journey. While they were forced away from their relatives, homeland, and culture, for many Cherokee people, Their placeness is felt by the physical aspects of Appalachia and the mountains, as they have a generational connection to the land. The Cherokee people have adapted to their new reality since their removal forward and have fought to preserve their land and culture for future generations.